Jeffries, a member of the House Budget Committee. Congressman, when the president says that he has, quote, options most people don't understand to get more money for the border wall, how do you interpret that? What options don't most people understand?
Well, it's not clear. What does seem to be the case is that this is more bluster and misdirection from the President of the United States of America, because he apparently is concerned that despite his promise that we were going to get sick of the winning, all he does is lose, 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 no matter what. If you take a look, Anderson, at the trajectory of this issue around his medieval, vanity-inspired border wall, first he indicated that he was going to build a wall from sea to shining sea, and Mexico was going to pay for it. They refused. Second, over the last 2 years, Republicans controlled the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and he still couldn't get anything done. In fact, he walked away from a $25 billion border wall deal in exchange for DACA. Then he shuts down the government for 35 days in a reckless fashion, and then says uncle at the end and engages in an unconditional surrender, when he could have gotten at least $1.6 billion, as you pointed out, without shutting down the government, and now has gotten much less than that.
So do you believe the president could take this deal and then declare a national emergency anyway as a means of using military money for the wall?
Well, it's possible that the president will in all likelihood take this deal because he can't go down the path of recklessly shutting down the government again. That was a disaster for him. It was a disaster for Republicans in the House and the Senate. And clearly Mitch McConnell and his team over on the other side of the Capitol want no part of that any further. Now, the president may try to declare a national emergency, but here's the thing. If it was a national emergency, why didn't he declare that to be the case on day one of his presidency, going all the way back to January 20th of 2017? All we've seen is rhetoric around this situation, but no real evidence that there's a national emergency, in part because apprehensions are down at the border, not up.
But Congressman, a lot of Republicans will say, well, look, yes, and maybe it's not the greatest thing for the president. It's not exactly what the president wanted. But at the same time, it's not what Nancy Pelosi, she said not $1 for a wall. And here they are with a deal for $1.5 billion or so.
Well, what we've said from the very beginning is that the president would not get a dime for a medieval border wall in the midst of a reckless government shutdown where he was holding 800,000 plus federal employees and their families and the American economy hostage. We maintained from the very beginning that when the government was reopened, we'd be more than willing to have a mature conversation about border security and do what was necessary in terms of what the evidence directed. In that regard, we indicated that we would be willing to support some modest barriers where justified, and that in fact is the case here. But this bill will be 21st century border security. It will invest in the type of infrastructure that we think is necessary around the legal ports of entry. It will invest in technology. It will provide money for humanitarian assistance to make sure that migrant families are treated with the dignity and respect that they deserve in terms of food and shelter, transportation and medicine and clothing.
Conservative Freedom Caucus leader Mark Meadows told reporters today that if the president accepts the bill and does nothing else, that it would be, quote, political suicide. Does the president need to do something else to save face here?
Oh, in my view, this is a victory for the American people because we have finally put to bed the notion that shutdowns are a legitimate negotiating tactic when there's a dispute between two co-equal branches of government. I think what we need to do is move beyond this situation. Hopefully the bill will get to the president's desk. He'll sign it into law by Friday, and then work with us as House Democrats on our For the People agenda, where we're focused on lowering health care costs, protecting people with pre-existing conditions, driving down the high cost of prescription drugs, and enacting a real infrastructure plan. That's what the president talked about in part when he came before us at the State of the Union address. Hopefully, once we end this sordid episode, we can work on issues of real importance to the American people.
All right, Congressman Jeffries, appreciate your time.